Hello, hello, hello. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil. And this is Rockin The Love. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. Good to have
Are
you.
you
Good to
ready?
see you. What should
Are
they
we
be ready
ready?
for?
We should be ready for us. It's a big day. A lot of fun. Okay. So, what's our theme? I'll tell them about it. Our theme for the month has been love in the midst of chaos. And today we decided to drop the chaos. Today it's just love in the midst. And we're going to just share a little bit about our own journey today.
Cool.
That sound like fun?
I'm not sure yet. We'll see what part of the journey shows up.
Well, yeah,
But
that's probably accurate.
before we do that, I wanna just apologize to everyone for not being here last week. I was
Yes.
actually in New Mexico, and the powers that be said no. All roads did not lead to doing a show, so we decided to give you an old show and just come back refreshed this week. And we are refreshed in different places, but refreshed nonetheless. I'm in Oakland.
And I am in Albuquerque
I
this
had,
week. But
I had
next
to
week,
look
where will we
outside.
be?
I had to look outside and see if where I really was. Um, Next week I'll be in Albuquerque.
And where will we be the week after that?
Mm,
We'll be in Hawaii. So we like to move around, move this puppy around, keep it going. Uh, but we figured out this is the fun part about this. We can do it from anywhere. And whether or not we're in the same place, it still works.
Okay. My husband is not a rocket scientist, nor does he play one on TV. Right, producer Michael? Okay. Clearly, he's figuring out some things along the journey. So we know that you've already figured this out, but we love it when you like us or let us know where you're calling from and chat with us in the comments. It's so much fun to talk with you. So let's just start out about our week. How's your week been? You've had a big week.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a big week. It's been good. Um, Had a lot of fun. Well, yeah, I guess we haven't been on since the installation, huh? That was the week you were here. So we had a big event at the new place where I am as spiritual director in New Mexico, Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living, and it was a great opportunity to do a little bit of honoring of the previous leadership, and they did a lot of honoring of bringing me in. So it was exciting. It was fun, and a lot of people were here. The whole family was here, and so that was a big week. And now we're on to another one. I just spent 2 days at a ministers' conference,
And how
so
was
it just
that?
keeps rolling forward. That
How
was
was
pretty
it?
good. Actually, it was better than I expected.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's very mysterious when you ministers get behind closed doors and call it a conference.
Yes, it is. It is because you just never know. Uh, Actually, there was a lot of dark robes and hoods and things going
Mm,
on.
that's not that funny.
It's well, it was meant to be funny because it was really way off. It was it was some great stuff. We had a great keynote speaker, and I've got his book, and I'm planning to read it. And we learned about the basic points of the book, and they're very exciting because they're very logical, doable, and challenging all at the same time.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. How does that fit into our theme?
How's that fit into our theme? Well, oh wow, um, a couple things. One, it's funny. This is the pivot. It is called the four pivots, and the third pivot is going from the problem to possibility, and talks about how, it's so easy to get tied up in a problem and decide, oh, I can analyze the problem, I can tell you all about the problem, I can tell you when the problem started, I can all these things without ever looking at, well, what's the possibility? How do we move from the problem? How do we do something different? And I think that definitely applies to us now, and our relationship and what's going on. And that's kind of exciting.
The
So
name of the book is The Four Pivots.
The Four Pivots.
The Four Pivots.
It's by Sean Ginwright. SHAWNGINWRIGHT. And he is a professor at San Francisco State. And way more than that, but that's one of his titles. So, the other ones are things like moving from hustle to flow. And that's that idea of getting out of just doing a bunch of stuff and instead figuring out what the flow is and where we should be putting our energy and where we should be backing off our energy, relaxing, if you will, and trusting the process. That one's kind of important too. They're all important. But alas, this is not a show about the four pivots.
But it might be one day. We may invite him on as a guest. I've heard he's a good guest.
Oh yeah, he would be great.
I'm just, I'm just thinking about what you said and just how it relates to life and everything. But you cut it off, so I'm not going to go backwards.
I'm going to go backwards. Okay, go forwards.
Let's go forwards. You have any good news?
I do.
Then it's time for Here's the Good News. Woo-hoo.
Yay.
What's your good news, buddy?
All right. So, why can't I find my button? There it is. So what I found, that's not the right button. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What I found out today is that there's a thought in our world that somehow the relationship between humans and dogs was created as we domesticated them. But a new study shows that the relationship actually started before we domesticated wolves and turned them into dogs with the wolves. The wolves are able to distinguish who they relate to and who they don't, who they feel safe with and who they don't. And they're able to be calmed by the people that they recognize and that they know.
I saw that article. It's very interesting.
Isn't it interesting? I thought it was an interesting thing about relationship, about this, we I don't know. I sometimes think that animals and stuff are, we discount how much they truly get it, if you will, and understand being in relationship. And I don't know why. I mean, I have the deer out in my yard and they get it when I wave to them and stuff, and they're cool and calm and collected until they get a little too close, and then they're not so happy. But they get that our intentions, the different intentions of people, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So mine, I had a lot to choose from this week because it felt like there's a study out that Colorado State Fish Department found a fish that was once considered extinct to be reproducing and coming back naturally in natural waters, which was good.
Wow.
Yeah, right. And then there's another story I found about a family in Virginia that they were driving down the road and this car hit something and kept going, and so they pulled over and pulled a bunch of bags over to the side of the road to get it out of the way, and they threw it in the back of their truck just so it wouldn't just be sitting on the road. And when they got home, they looked in it and there was $1 million in it.
Oh my gosh.
And they returned it to the authorities because they wanted to teach their children that that's the right thing to do. So that was a good story. And then there was even a story that youth crime in the U.S. has gone down 78% since 1994, even though that sounds nothing like the story.
What we hear.
Yeah. But that was good. But the
Well,
one that,
go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go
I was going
ahead.
to say, you know why that is? That's because no one gets off their phone. That's why there's no time.
Maybe. They're all playing video games and
I guess that's the upside of social media, etc. Huh?
Maybe. And then the other one was I sent you the link to put it up in here, but I'm guessing you did not do that or you did not give it to Michael.
I did not see it even. I forgot.
So the other one is there's a link to it, and it's that, and this one is near and dear to my heart because Gil and I are going on a trip to Hawaii for like 4 days because we had some pandemic credit left over, and so we're going to Hawaii, and I'm excited because we've made a vow not to work, not to like really work, because usually we really work through our vacations. But anyway, so this is a story about Hawaii. And on a Southwest flight, Gil, stop multitasking and trying to find it and look where you're supposed to be looking.
Sorry, I was going to send it to our producer.
I know, but if you can't do it undercover, you can't do it because the side of your head and your nose, it's just not an attractive thing.
How about the nose hairs? Are they attractive?
Okay. So sad that we're live. Anyway, so now that you've completely ruined my story,
start again.
So going to Hawaii, and this happened on a Southwest flight. That Southwest surprised everyone on the flight, and they brought on a crew from Guitar Center with ukuleles. They gave everyone ukuleles and a ukulele lesson on the flight over to Hawaii.
Wow.
It was the first time ever.
That sounds fun.
And the reason I really like it is because, you know, I think we all get stuck in a rut of what life is like and what, you know, and especially after the pandemic, you know, it's like, okay, get on plane, go. Should I keep my mask on? Keep my mask off? What do I do? Blah, blah, blah. And it's everything's very kind of rote and, you know, we're in a thing, in a rut. And I think like, you know, when we play and when we shake it up and we shift it up, it makes a difference. And I think Southwest does that, you know, whether it's just over the loudspeaker or something fun like that, or, you know, I think the more creative and inventive people are like that, I think it's really connecting people again. Okay, that's the video.
Oh, look at all those ukuleles. Those are great.
Are we playing it or are we just looking? What's up?
I think we're just looking at it right now.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's out there, people, if you want to find it. It's just fun. Okay.
Oh, now we have Instacart. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's a really interesting story. And I think the point is that it's all about building relationships. And whether it's a big company or whether it's individuals, there's always ways to interject fun and excitement and possibility into it.
Yes.
What do you think?
Preach.
Okay.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about love amidst.
Love in the midst.
Love in the midst. Love in the midst. What does that mean to you?
What's it mean to me? It means love in the midst of everything else, whatever it is. That love is always in the mix somewhere. What's it mean to you?
It means that there's always an in the midst. Like on some level, it's never just love. That something else is always happening, even though there's only one thing happening. But that there's, you can always say, that it's, I mean, this is just what came to me, that, oh, it's love amidst the chaos. It's love amidst having to make dinner and, cook for the family. It's love amidst picking up kids at school. It's love amidst not having enough money to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's just love amidst love.
Maybe that's what it is.
All right. Ponder that. And we'll be right back right here on New Thought Media Network. And we're back right here on Rockin The Love. I am Robyn Rice.
And I am Gil Olmsted. Sorry, I stepped on you.
It's okay.
And we're here.
And we are here. We are here by divine appointment to talk about love. Love, 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 love.
Up in the midst.
So what made you come up with this topic?
Well, we've been talking about love in the midst of chaos, and I just had this thought that love is really in the midst of all of it. And maybe we could just talk about things that aren't necessarily chaos, but they're definitely changes in life and that kind of thing, and where the love is in that, how it works, how we can still hold the love in those places.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Especially some of the places where we think there should be more love, and sometimes we get stressed out and it feels like there's more angst around it. I don't want to say less love, but it doesn't feel as loving as it could. And I'm inspired to think that by I see that Laura of Attraction is out in our audience rocking it in the UK. And I know that she's preparing for a wedding. And sometimes that's a super stressful time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we might, I don't know. There's just moments where you kind of want to throw, it doesn't matter how much love there is. You just think like, I don't know if I can do this. At least I did,
Well, it's a lot of stuff. It's it's part of the book we mentioned before. We get caught in the hustle, in the trying to get it all done, all the things on the list. We have the list and we check 2 things off and we put 4 things down. We keep rolling forward and it can get overwhelming. And we miss being in that space of allowing the love to allowing ourselves to feel the love and enjoy our human interactions. And our actions become transactional versus transformational, because we're so involved in, okay, I need this from you and I need that from you, and once I get that, I'll be able to do this, and those kinds of things. If I don't give you my list of guests, then we can't get the guest list done, and that kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, listening to you talk, I'm thinking about, I was thinking about living in the moment. And how people always say you're not in the moment, be in the moment. And like, how can you really fully be in the moment without any preparation for the next moment? In that, I mean, if I mean, because I think I'm in the moment a lot. I surrendered a lot and just allow things to unfold. But like, especially things like weddings and our lives, we're living. There is a certain outcome we'd like it to have. There is a certain, if I, just the basics even. If I know that I want to be able to pay my bills and eat dinner, I got to go to work, right? So I can't live in the moment. I'm constantly on the what's next track. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. But I think that if what's next is at the expense of what's now, then we're missing the moment. So if I can't be in this moment now with you while we're doing this, because I'm thinking about what I need to get done at the office later, then I'm missing this moment. Does that make sense? It's not that I don't have things to do. It's not I don't have things on my list to get to, but they're on my list, and I can allow them to be there while I'm in this moment right here.
Yeah, I mean, because in some ways, we're always living from a place of the future. We're always living into what. Okay, so we're always living into making a memory, because that's what we know. And that's why when you're in the moment, sometimes you're so surprised and you know and in wonder of what happens, because it wasn't on your radar. Does that make sense?
Kinda, but it's a memory then at that point. You've now created a memory.
Right. But
Yeah,
it may not have been, this a whole different discussion, but it may not have been consciously created. It may just have been created by you allowing the space for it to happen.
right.
Right. Whereas if I'm planning my wedding, I go, oh, I need to make sure that there's, each person has a rose and doves fly at noon or whatever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's more my vision of like I've always dreamt of or thought about, and it's different.
Mm-hmm. Well, but isn't that the story we tell about our wedding and the butterflies?
Yeah, it is, but that's an allowing story. We don't always live from that place, and
Okay.
that's so the story is, I wanted butterflies in my wedding, and I had this place where we were going to put butterflies after a reading, and it didn't happen. And when we got to that point, the minister looked at me, and she went, "Butterflies," and I went, because it just too much had happened, and to get to that on my list. And someone in our audience, what do you call it? Is that what you call it with this way? In our wedding,
Um,
in our party, in our someone that
people.
was there, so our people, our tribe, someone, someone said, "But look, there's whales," and pointed to the ocean, and there was a mama whale with her baby breaching. Well, I couldn't have planned that, right? But on some level, I opened up the space and allowed that to happen. But that's because I forgot about the butterflies, not because I went, let that go and see what happens. you know,
But in the moment, you didn't go sideways with because you forgot the butterflies. You just were like, "Oh no, that's not happening."
yeah,
You know
but
what I mean? I
yeah,
mean,
I
you
do.
didn't let it become a thing.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So, but anyways, but I don't want to get too far off topic. I think that because I think it's, uh, I think that's what we're saying, or what I was saying in the beginning, that we're always in the midst of something, right? Because we always have a thought or an opinion or an idea or a what if about the situation, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think you brought up a really interesting conundrum because how can we possibly live solely in the moment and, have our clothes on in time before we're supposed to walk out the door?
Right.
Or, I mean, like that preparation, if you will, like you said, for what's next. I think it's an interesting concept. I think there's this idea of being in the moment and allowing it to happen, but also acknowledging that there's a certain amount of always thinking about what's coming up. What are we going to do? That's why we have airline tickets booked out into November. We could live in the moment and go to the airport and jump on a plane, but then we probably wouldn't be able to afford it, you
Right.
know?
So we really couldn't.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. But I and so really, how do you live in the moment when there's always something going on? And that's the practice, right? That's the going back to being still, being silent, sitting in the meditation, being in the unknown, and taking that time, because I think it is part of, it's like, it's interesting. It's really interesting because there's no plan, and yet there is a plan. According to spiritual people, right? Like, being in the silence is a plan.
Mm,
I
yeah.
think that we have to plan, and or meditating, or any of those things. So it is an interesting balance, and I'm not sure where it becomes like, like I have a vision of like a meter, like it's gonna buzz if I get to a certain place, like, not in the moment, back up. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's that in the moment piece, and then there's the accepting what is piece. And I think there may be something around the difference or the similarities in those, because because accepting what is means that we're not necessarily trying to control all the outcomes, which I think is somewhat the idea of being in the moment as well, right? Is to be with what's happening, without judgment, without deciding it's bad or it's good, or that it's the wrong thing, it's not the right thing, and allowing it to come forth. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I technically get it, but I think it's really interesting because all we know is the past. It's all
Okay.
we have our memories of our favorite birthdays. We have our memories of our worst birthdays. We have our thoughts about how things could have gone better. We have our political thoughts about who could have been elected, how it could have been better, why we wouldn't have had this happening or that happening. And so to go forward, is it really as simple as, I mean, how do you go forward? That's a better question. How do you go forward without dragging all of that with you? And yet,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, some of it is there to guide you and to teach you how to maneuver. But how do you really let that go? It's kind of like a trust fall, right?
Mm.
How do you just fall?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what quote would hold you back from the moment? Well, your memory of the time you did it and they didn't catch you. Right.
Right. Or
That
any
kind of thing.
time you felt unsafe.
Yeah, yeah,
And so this isn't exactly the topic you were talking about, but I mean that brings us to how we do everything, right? Because we're basing it on the past in some level,
right.
how it's worked out, who's been there, how it could have been better, can I do it better, is it worth it?
Can I be better? I mean, I find that with myself, that I judge myself a lot based on the same things you're saying. Rather than allowing myself to be in the moment, I'm concerned about why I shouldn't be here based on what's happened before. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. It's interesting because I mean, I'm married to you. I know that. I know, how you think. And I don't really think like that.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I mean, I guess we all do it differently, obviously, but I mean, I mean, I kind of get somewhere and go, huh, look at me, I'm here. I guess I'm supposed to be here. And then I move forward. I don't go, oh no, I'm here, or what if I can't do it? I don't, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I do sometimes, but for the most part, I don't find myself going back a lot.
And it is something that you are good at.
Not going back.
Mhm. It's a gift.
Really? Do a lot of people do that? Do a lot of you do that out there? Constantly go back? I
I don't know if it's constantly, but I think it's somewhat of a more active process to not fall into that for most people.
hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do. I don't and I'm trying to think like what would I tell somebody? Like what would I tell a client or what would why, why don't I do that?
Uh-huh.
But
That's an interesting one.
I really think it is just I know we say this a lot in New Thought, Science of Mind, change your thinking, change your life, or, you know, positive affirmations, but I don't know. Honestly, I didn't have a lot of that growing up either. I didn't have that feeling that I couldn't do it. I thought I could do everything. I was like, what's wrong with everybody? I thought, like, I remember being a little kid and, like, when some war was going on or some unrest somewhere, I was like, well, come on, can I just talk to the president? I didn't understand, like, why it couldn't just be talked out and why it couldn't change. So I don't know. I think I'm weird. I don't know.
Well, I love you in the midst of your weirdness.
Okay, good. All right. No, but really, I mean, I don't know. I think that's really important because it obviously it's a big deal to keep going back to an old story.
Yeah.
To have an old story. And how do you really stop an old story?
Well, I think when we talk about when you brought up this idea that of living in the moment, I think probably the old story is probably the biggest um, roadblock to that. A lot more than the what am I doing next story, or how do I prepare for the next moment. If we can put together our preparation, we can look forward and we can allow for whatever happens to happen. If it if we're the only way that the looking forward, I think, gets really in the way is when we get tied to how it has to come out. We get tied to the form. If we're not tied to that, then that planning ahead part is not as detrimental to being in the moment. But our old story can constantly come up because it's ingrained, it's there. And again, it's a similar thing, because what it is it's our belief about what the outcome should be, even if it's a negative outcome we don't want, but we think that's what should happen because that's what always has happened.
So
If you will.
so is it then, if that's true, is it then our using our in that, whoever thinks that version, is it our belief about God?
What do you mean? Is it our
So
belief about God?
if I think that I'm not worthy, I'm not capable, I'm not it's not possible for me, then do I think that about God?
Well,
Because that's not what we say.
I was going to say, I think you're getting at the idea that we're divine beings, right? And if we're divine beings, then all of that is here. And the cliche of God don't make no junk, there isn't a mistake. So yeah, at some level, it's about burning through beliefs that we don't believe we're connected to the divine in the way that we are. We don't see the divine as being as powerful or as all creative as we say we do, or it's
Or
something around that.
we see ourselves separate.
Separate. Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think we see ourselves separate because I believe that people believe when they say that. I just don't believe that they put themselves in the same ranking.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's where you're weird, because you don't have an issue with that. And I
Yeah.
and I say that some people might, who maybe don't know you, I think, oh, that's an odd thing to say. But it's not that you come from a place of thinking that you're all that. It's that you just know that you're okay.
Yeah.
Know that, right? I mean, you don't go around letting people or telling people that you're special or trying to show everybody how special you are. You just show up and be it.
Well, I don't. Well, and I don't think I'm special.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I see people the same as I see me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing. We're all special, and I don't mean that to sound trite. I just mean like I don't see myself as anything special, but I do see the beauty in almost everyone.
Yeah, there's a challenge here and there. I get it. And certainly from time to time, right?
Yeah.
And
No, but at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying. I no, yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, but I really was just thinking in that moment. I don't know. It feels like I got it in a different way, like how people hold themselves back. I mean, I get it. I totally get it. And I'm not saying that it's never happened, but
no,
um, but I'm just wondering, really, like, how do you, in the midst of it all, how do you go to the love there to know, without a doubt, that love is who you are? It's a question for you, Mr. O.
Oh, was I supposed to answer that question?
Well,
Because that was kind of deep.
as our producer will tell you, I'm not the minister here.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, there it is. Okay, I feel better now. You don't play one on TV either. Um, yeah, it's all about anchoring it in the love. And I think that was the thought with today's show, was about anchoring the love, no matter what's going on or where we are, and realizing that love is the biggest thing. Um, and probably our old stories, and sometimes we get caught up in trying to manipulate and control what's coming next. We forget about the love. When we get involved in getting what we need from other people, or trying to just make sure that we give them whatever they ask for, we we forget about the love. What's really the relationship about? It's not just about what I can do for you or what you can do for me. What's it about?
Well, and I think, like, when you say forget about the love, I think, like, do we ever really forget about the love? Because we're always wanting it.
Mm-hmm.
We're always needing it. It's always, a vital force. So do we forget about it, or does it, does it just take on different forms? Because there's times when someone can love you, come to love you, come to show you the love. And I mean, even just take a little kid, when a little kid runs and hugs you and jumps on you or wants to hang on you. And there's times when we're all over that and we're like, oh, and we can be part of it. There's other times where it's like, not now, not now, and we can dismiss it. So I mean, do we dismiss love when it doesn't fit in
When we're
to
not living in the moment.
right? Right.
You
It
know?
can only be when we're not living in the moment.
Right.
Because if
Right.
we were in the moment, love would meet love.
Right. But when we're outside of the moment, then I have something else I need to do, that's more important, that must be done. I have somewhere else to be. And yet, on the side of fairness, not fair, well, fairness to the human experience, perhaps, that's a reality sometimes. Sometimes there's an obligation or a commitment that I've made somewhere, and in this moment, I need to complete this obligation before I can move on to something else.
And is that the
And
truth?
Well, that's certainly what it feels like in the moment. I don't know if it's absolutely the truth. Perhaps it can be, oh, okay, thank you, love you, bye. I got to get back to work. you know, but I don't know. I think that's a good question.
And I think, maybe for me, that would be like the homework for the week. That would be just, just, just being aware, just acknowledging, just, being aware of where love shows up and what you do with it. Like, is there a time, whether it's, you know, somebody bringing you in a glass of water and you don't want a glass of water, you wanted a glass of tea, or whatever, like, where, how many places does love show up where we don't acknowledge it or take the time to be with it?
Mm. Wow, I think that's a great thought around love in the midst of whatever else is going on, and I think it's a good question because it's more than talking about love in the midst. It's about opening oneself up to recognizing it when it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I'm guilty of it as a parent, as a godparent. I know, like, kids run in and they're yelling about something, and I know there's sometimes where I'll say something back and they turn around and go, "Why are you so angry?" Well, I'm angry because my thought about what you're doing and everything started 5 minutes ago. I'm not stopping to love you in this moment and be really, I think,
Understanding or
I guess
anything.
that's another question though. Like, even in the midst of whatever happened 5 minutes ago, can I stop and love what's happening right now, or acknowledge something that I love about what's happening right now? And I think, that's kind of like that exercise we did on the show one time, about after a fight or argument, and sitting together and acknowledging three things that you love about each other or loved in the situation. And it's like, can we, in the situations that we don't like, can we go back and find something that we do like, or that we're grateful for or appreciative of, or where we see the love, something like that?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. I think that's great homework to really be aware of what is the love in this situation, and am I allowing it to penetrate me, I guess. Am I allowing it in? Am I allowing it to show up in my life, or am I pushing it away for some reason? Whether it's my previous life experience, or it's my thought about what I need to get done in this moment, or it's my belief about you who's bringing it to me, whatever it is.
Yeah. Just checking in, seeing where you're operating from in the
Yeah.
midst of whatever is going on.
Yeah. That's good.
I'll do it. Will you do it?
I'll do it.
Okay, it's a pact. We'll do it. Producer Michael, will you do it?
All right. Michael's in.
Michael's a thumbs up. All right. So here at Rockin The Love, we're going to pause and just check in to see where we're operating from this week. And we're going to see you next week when hopefully our guest will be Ray Davis.
Yeehaw!
Ray is an amazing, amazing man with so
Amazing.
many credits.
Yeah.
Talented musician, and just it's going to be a very interesting conversation. And that's all I got. What do you got?
Well, I just wanted to comment that none of the 6 questions I wrote down for our show today did I ask, nor did we discuss. So it was interesting to allow in the moment this show to come forth the way it did. because it came up totally different than I thought it would. And it's a good experience.
It's kind of like your marriage to me, right? Now, the minute you said you had questions and an agenda, I was like, oh, great. I can't wait to go off track.
That's right. That's right.
There is no off track, babe.
Okay.
All right. So we are excited. We are excited to see you next week. I'm excited that I'll see you next week, Mr. Olmsted. We'll be in New Mexico at the Balloon Festival. And then, yeah, it's quite a month. But
it is.
We'll be here with you. And for all of you who watch shows on other other time frames here on New Thought Media Network, hold some of your people in prayer, knowing that they're going through their ministerial panels, and by the next time you see them on their shows, they're going to have letters in front of their names. They're going to be revs.
Revs, they think. They hope.
We got a few of them out here on New Thought Media Network. We've got Gina and Michael and Laura and Audra, and just a plethora of consciousness waiting to grace the networks and the world with what they know. So we just know for them that it is done easily and effortlessly and in so much joy, and that the world has been waiting for them. So,
and they stand in the love in the midst of whatever happens in that moment.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next week right here.
Thanks so much.
On New Thought Media Network.